to say something for a long time, but before she does, I have to reiterate again that case law, a judge has told us we are not handwriting specialists. We are not.
Except when there's a challenge.
Except when there's a challenge.
Yes.
And
Once there's a
has
challenge, then you have a right to examine whether somebody has signed their own name plus others. So we're not saying about we're not talking about your original determination. We're talking about a determination after you accept our challenge. And that's why we want you to accept our challenge, so that this determination can be made that can't be made originally.
Ms. Brewer?
Thank you. I appreciate that you're hearing from members of the public. I know you guys don't often even have to have public meetings where you have chairs calling on people all the time, so thank you for your indulgence. So as a member of the select board who's obviously had to turn in nomination papers, I obviously have an interest in how this is all working. I'm wondering if there isn't a third way here. And I don't know what regulations you have to follow when you have to make all your decisions. I was not aware, for example, as I think many members of the public were not aware, that you couldn't look at signatures beyond to see if the registered voter matched the name, matched the address. If something looked kind of hinky to you, that in fact you don't have the ability to even say, wow, that looks kind of hinky to me. I didn't know that. I don't think most people knew that. You guys know that because you're on the Board of Registrars, and that's great. I wonder if there's a third way here in terms of your ability to accept the challenge, not because of this 48-hour working day thing, which I think is a completely wrong precedent to establish. I think that's a crazy idea. I think we have many other reasons not to do that. For example, petition articles for town meeting that have a deadline, etc. We do not want to go down that road, open that can of worms. What I wonder if you can do is if you are allowed, because I don't know what your rules are, if you are allowed to look at it as a fundamental misunderstanding of the challenge process. Because it is my belief, based on also what Mr. Connors just said, of course, it does not seem very practical for every time people turn in nomination papers to have somebody show up and say, I challenge, without even looking at them. But I believe, based on what I've heard so far today, that is in fact the process. That you come in and you say, I challenge. You don't have to give any proof of why you challenge. You don't have to say, I spent 17 hours looking at these papers and I believe these 6 signatures are bad, therefore I challenge. Based on what you've said so far, you can come in and challenge for whatever reason. You can just basically say, as an individual, I challenge. Then it's up to the Board of Registrars, which, unfortunately could mean a lot more meetings for you guys, to go ahead and pursue that challenge. It sounds like, because Mr. O'Connor indicated in his 40 years of working very closely in the election process, he's never done it before, he didn't realize that he didn't have to do hours worth of homework in order to challenge. He had plenty of access to come in and file a simple challenge. He was trying to do the right thing by doing his homework. That screwed him up because it took him past the deadline. So I wonder if you can instead accept the challenge by saying, people didn't know how the challenge process worked. They thought that it meant they had to submit a bunch of information to us on what was wrong, when in fact, all they have to do is come in and say, I challenge the process. Now again, just like this other issue, when we're talking about the other side of it, of course, the person who I also don't know, whose nomination papers these are, could of course also file some sort of process saying it's unfair that you're questioning my papers when you don't question other people's. So there is that side of it. But without, again, knowing what wiggle room you have, I wonder if you have wiggle room not on the issues of the access to hours in the town hall Thursday morning, which is a thorn in some people's side, but the actual misunderstanding of the process and the fact that to challenge, one doesn't have to prove anything to challenge. One simply states, I challenge, and then it's up to the Board of Registrars to decide whether or not that was a valid challenge, and then they get to do their homework.